Our stories, our voice, our history hasn't always been welcomed. But we learned long ago that if America won't celebrate us, then we will celebrate our own, told our way, on our time. Today we have thousands of Black creators in film. Thousands of books are on the shelves of stores around the world. But it wasn't always as easy. For Lena, for Hattie, for James, for Zora, for Langston, we fought for a place in American history, and we've empowered our own voices, keeping our stories alive. Remember Philando, remember Mike, remember Trayvon, remember Sandra, remember Oscar, remember Brianna. No more will Black voices go unheard. No more will Black stories go unread. We will write our own history and create our own legacies. And each summer in Atlanta, we will gather. We will celebrate. We speak out. Black voices matter. Black stories matter. Black lives matter. Everybody has a story to tell. Make sure that you tell yours. Create your story. Dream out loud. It all starts with a spark. Like this thought or this vision in your head that gives you these ideas and these visions of who you want to be. And I can remember myself sitting in my room, writing in my journal about stories and characters of people I had no idea who they were. And I just knew that that's who I was going to be. I was going to write books, I was going to move to Atlanta, and I was going to become this big-time authoress. And I did that. I got the awards. I got the bestsellers list. I met some phenomenal people, and I've helped other people dream out loud. I think that when it comes down to dreaming, it's more than about just getting it done. It's about having fun and enjoying life while you do it. So y'all dream out loud with me.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Black Writers Weekend in conjunction with African Americans on the Move Book Club. I am your host, Chuck Hawkins of the Hawk Vision Podcast, and I'm absolutely excited to be able to share a conversation with you featuring today's guest. She is an author who has experienced some amazing success thus far, definitely a visionary and someone that I'm excited for you all to hear from. Mbinguni, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you for Black Writers Weekend. How's the weekend going for you so far?
It's going really well. I'm excited. I've met so many wonderful people, and just this experience has been really great. It's my first festival as a published author, and so I'm really enjoying it.
Awesome. So tell me about the book, Looking for Hope, the bullet that changes this 7-year-old's life. Tell me about this story.
So Looking for Hope is about 7-year-old Hannah Mouse Maynard. When we meet her, she's living this charmed life of a Southern girl. Yeah. And she experiences a life-changing tragedy, which is the catalyst for an adventure of sorts. And on this adventure, she meets many colorful characters along the way, women who love on her, support her, and help her grow into a woman. And the overall arching theme of the book is tragedy does not have to define us, and that love conquers all.
I love it. Now, tell me about your creative process, because some people can knock out a book in 2 months, some take 2 years. How long did you work on this particular project?
Well, this project took me roughly 14 years, and that's because I started and stopped. Yeah. So when I really settled down and got serious about it, the process took me about 3 years.
Nice. What do you think it is about these coming of age stories that resonates so well with the readers?
Well, I think we see ourselves in it. Everybody can remember those things that happened to us as a child or, in our youth, early teens, and those things that transformed our lives or changed us in some big way. And so those moments stay with you for your whole entire life. And I think that's why those types of books resonate with readers so much. And a lot of my characters are, they come from the heart, and they are real people, even though they're not real people. They're based on the things that you remember from growing up, especially in the South. And so that's what makes these characters so endearing to people, I believe.
That was actually going to be one of my questions. I was going to ask, how much time did you spend doing research, being that this is a story that originates from the South?
Well, I'm from the South, so there's not a lot of research in that. However, the book is set in the late 1950s. So I did have to do research on that era. and talking with family members, Googling things. But some things I remember just from hearing my family members talk about things when I was coming up. So there was some research, but a lot of it is from memory as well.
Nice, very nice. Now, a lot of the people that are attending Black Writers Weekend are wondering if they should, pull that trigger and become a writer themselves. What would you say to the aspiring writer that doesn't necessarily have the confidence to know if their story's good enough to put it out there?
The biggest thing that was helpful to me in that sense was finding mentors whose work I admired. So I had two really great mentors who were there very early on in the process for me, Suzette D. Harrison and Tina McElroy Ansa. Both of them read my work and basically, encouraged me and said, you have a great story to tell. Your writing is beautiful. You can do it. And if it hadn't been for them, it probably would have taken me much more than 14 years, if not longer than that, because they came in towards that latter part, those last 3 years. They were there for me with helping me gain the courage and the confidence to do it.
I love it. As a writer, I'm sure you see things a bit differently in regards to storytelling. What are the pieces of that you believe are necessary for a good story?
A good story requires, there has to be some sort of tension, I believe. Something that is driving the story forward. Lovable characters are characters that people can see themselves in, even if they're not necessarily lovable. I do have a character who nobody loves that character, but people can understand the pain that character is in and why they are behaving the way that they're behaving. So those are probably the biggest things, is basically having some tension and making sure you develop your characters.
Speaking of which, there's a quote, I believe, where Mouse says it takes hard work to get unstuck from that place, but we have to be willing to dig in. She seems wise beyond her years. Mm-hmm. Is that something that you did on purpose, or is that just kind of her coming of age in the book?
It's something that I did on purpose. That particular quote, I believe, is from when she's an adult, but even as a child, she is wise beyond her years. And that is because of this tragic event that occurs. When you're a child and something like that happens, a lot of times it grows you up very quickly. And that is what she experiences in this book.
Did you always know that you wanted to be a writer?
I did, actually. I've always been an avid reader. I was reading Toni Morrison in middle school.
Oh, wow.
And her book, Bluest Eye, was the first book that really gave me insight into the power of words when you know how to use them. And that's when I fell in love with it and really decided I wanted to be a writer.
So it's one of those things like, most people fall in love with hip hop or music when they hear that first song. And so Bluest Eye was your catalyst.
Mm-hmm. It was. I'm a huge Toni Morrison fan. She's one of my favorites. I love the way Ta-Nehisi Coates writes. Of course, my mentors that I mentioned, Suzette and Miss Tina, as I call her. Yeah. Nakisha Elise Williams. There are so many that I could name, but they've all influenced me in just paying attention to the way they use words. Words are so powerful and can be so life-changing. And I want to be a part of that. I want people to read my work and be moved. I want them to feel something when they read it. What they feel, I can't, dictate that, but I want it to move them. And so that's what I try to do in my writing. And I hope that I'm successful at it.
Listen, you are killing it. Over 60 5-star reviews so far. And I think that you've already overcome the hardest part, which is where most people get stuck in the writing processes. They think they want everybody to love it, right? So they have to move forward. How did you conquer that fear just to keep going, right? When most people are, worried about, is this word right? Is this story good enough? How did you conquer that?
Accountability partners. Again, having those mentors that Miss Tina would say, okay, where's your next chapter? Let me, she would read it, review it, send it back with notes, and I'd have to make edits. And that was throughout the whole process. And even then, when I got to the end, it still needed to go through more editing and then the copy edit pass. But at each step of the way, once I really dedicated myself to it, I did have accountability partners to say, what are you doing? Where's this next piece? When will I have this next piece to review? And for me, as a person who's driven by like deadlines and that kind of thing, that was helpful to just keep me moving. Because if I didn't have that, I would sit back and be like, oh, I got another month, or, keep pushing it, because honestly, fear is what kept me from doing it for so long. And fear can be debilitating if you allow it to be. So with having someone else in the mix that I knew was going to push me and make sure I turned in things, that was extremely helpful for me meeting my goal.
Amazing. So talk to me a little bit more, the process of saying, you know what, now I have this project, I've spent all this time working on it, and now I'm going to be one of the featured authors of Black Writers Weekend. How does that feel?
Amazing. I never would have thought that the book would do that. I just knew I needed to get the story out. Mouse, which is the main character, wouldn't leave me alone until I told her story. And the funny thing about it and the amazing thing about it is when you are obedient, because that voice is not just coming from anywhere. So when you are obedient to that voice that's telling you to do things, then other things will happen that you had no plans on. And so that has been one of the most beautiful parts of the journey for me, is the things that are coming out of me just saying, yes, let me write Mouse's story.
Wow.
So then this is one of those events, and I'm very grateful to be here and thankful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I have to ask, do you remember the first thing that you ever wrote?
I don't remember the first thing. I do remember one of the stories from when I was in 6th grade, I believe. It was actually sci-fi. I was writing sci-fi in 6th grade, and there are aliens and things like that in that story. So I still have that story and other stories that I wrote in my youth. They're tucked away in my house, and maybe one day I'll write a children's book or something. But yeah, so I've been doing it for a long time, just not publicly.
Not publicly. Sci-fi. I always imagine the creative process being similar to the 5 Heartbeats when Tommy Davidson, or not Tommy Davidson, but him and his sister were writing and throwing away pieces in the trash. Like, do you have the book that, even though it's published and proofread and all that, where Mouse maybe has a scene and it just didn't make it into the book that could possibly lead to a sequel?
Well, no, I don't, but I'll tell you what happened. Those parts, I lost part of the book, which was another reason some of it took so long.
Wow.
And there were I was able to recover many of those chapters because of my accountability partner. I had emailed things, and I had those in, still in my sent items. But there were some chapters or things that were totally lost. I didn't recover them, couldn't remember. So there's parts, but the way that I look at that is that those were things that were not supposed to be in the book. The finished product is what was supposed to be. In terms of the sequel, there's not a sequel plan to the book, but one of the characters, and anyone who has read the book automatically knows who that character is. She will probably have her own spinoff. She's telling me things about her life, and so I think she'll have a spinoff.
I love it. I love it. Redirecting just a little bit, the business of writing a book. What is it that you learned are the important factors of becoming a published author in terms of protecting your work, your intellectual property? What are some of those things that you've learned?
Well, I will tell you, I didn't know coming into the process, there's so many working parts that you have to be aware of. And thankfully, I chose to go with a publisher who did all of that work for me. Initially, I thought I was going to self-publish the book. And so I learned about ISBN numbers and copywriting and all of that. But I chose not to do those things on my own. I was overwhelmed when I realized how much work needed to go into it to be done well, which is how I try to do everything. So the biggest thing I would say is, even as you're writing, before you get to the point where you want to go ahead and put it out, do your research, know what needs to be done. Because I know a lot of people who have said, oh, I learned this along the way as they're publishing their books. They didn't know about ISBN numbers or various things. So that's the biggest thing, is get educated. Know you need to copyright your work. Know how e-publishing works, formatting so that it looks nice when it comes out. So those are all parts of doing this and doing it well.
How important has networking been to the success of the book and the success of your journey so far?
Oh, extremely. And if nobody tells an author besides me, book clubs are your friend. Get connected with different book clubs, because they will not only support, they will do reviews, which are very important to us as authors, and they'll share with other people. So that's been an amazing part of why my book is doing so well on Amazon and everywhere else, because those people who are part of book clubs, that you've got a built-in audience, they want to read your book. They just have to know about it. So it's a big thing. It's a big part of it.
Networking is fundamental. Do you have a favorite character in the book?
Who, besides Mouse, who is the main character, I would probably say Miss Sookie. Miss Sookie is the owner and operator of Miss Sookie's. I don't want to say. I'll say she manages Ladies of the Night. So.
Yes, we are live, so we got to, we PG just in case.
Right. So,
she is in charge of the girls.
Yeah, she's in charge of the girls. So I really like Miss Sookie.
Awesome. Now, is there, the reason that I asked that question is because oftentimes writers, at least in my experience when I interview them, they will have favorite characters and they spend more time developing that story of the favorite versus, giving everybody that equal time. Did you catch yourself, trying to give Miss Sookie and Mouse more time, and, maybe in retrospect, you should have gave, somebody else a little more love?
I didn't really feel that way because of the nature of my story. Nobody really gets a lot of shine other than Mouse.
Nice.
There was one particular character I kind of wrestled with, should she get a little more time? And, for those people who read early copies of my book, I asked that question, should I resolve this relationship? And the answer in most cases was no, I think you did, what you needed to do with that character. So.
Nice. That is awesome. What's been the biggest thing that you've learned so far from networking at Black Writers Weekend?
It's just so many amazing authors out here doing the doggone thing. And, it's hard because you have those big publishing houses who, get their authors a lot of attention, but it's a lot of talented people out here doing it. And it's just amazing to see, the different things that people are doing to market their books. So it's a hard game out here in publishing, and you have to be willing to do the footwork. And so I hopped in my car with my doggy as my sidekick, and we drove on up to Atlanta to participate. So you got to be willing to do the work, but you get to meet a lot of fun and creative and amazing people. So that's been a great part of it.
That is awesome. Somewhere there is someone watching this or may watch one of the replays, and they're going to say, as a Black woman, I want to tell my stories. I want to get my voice out there. If you look back and could talk to your younger self, what would you say about the journey of not only writing the book, but gaining that confidence and self-assurance?
Trust your voice. I didn't trust my own voice. And, I thought all of these other authors were so amazing, but I'm amazing too in my own right. It's a gift. And you got to acknowledge when God gives you a gift, acknowledge it and use it, not to be boastful, not to say anybody else is not great. All of these other authors are amazing as well. But I had to come to a place where I said, you know what, this is my gift and this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And so that would be if I could go back, that would be the thing I would tell my younger self, is know that this is where you're supposed to be. And maybe I would have gotten here a lot earlier.
So that's the canned question, right? Is what would you tell your younger self? Would your younger self have listened?
Probably not. I was a little hard-headed as a kid, so girl, shut up! I don't hear that. So Yeah.
That is awesome. That is awesome. So let me ask you. One of the things that I'm drawn to with Mouse is not only that she meets all of these different women that kind of teach her different lessons, some that she realizes real time, some that kind of kick in a little bit later. My question in regards to that were those people that you had in your life, not necessarily people that were in charge of the girls, but
Right.
did you have those examples in your life?
I did. I did. And it's funny, I didn't realize until after the book was done and out that I kind of drew on that. I've always had very strong, amazing Black women surrounding me my whole entire life. And it was funny. I was talking to somebody about it one day and I said, wow, like that's probably why that was written that way, why that came out that way, is because I have always had that. And those women propped Mouse up and helped her grow into a woman. And that's one of my favorite aspects of the story, is how much these women, without even knowing why, really kind of gravitate towards Mouse and love on her and protect her. So that's one of the most special parts of the book to me.
That was perfectly leads me into it, because I was going to ask, do you think that it was intentional, as kind of that maternal nature, or was it that they saw this little girl and maybe they didn't want her to end up the way they did?
Especially women in general, but especially Black women, we just have something where we will take in a child. You don't have to be related to us, and even I have it. I don't have any children. But I will, if I see a child, and especially if you see a child and you can sense they need something, yeah, we immediately try to meet that need. And so I think that just came from within me. And, part of my writing process before I begin to write is to ask to be used as a vessel. And so I think that just came out of me because that is what was poured into me as a little girl. So, I love Black women. I think we are the most amazing things that walk this earth. So
I absolutely agree. I believe that you guys are the real life Avengers and should be protected at all costs. So just so you know, I know we've been talking and we're getting close to wrapping up, but you are getting tons of comments. People are saying, I'm so proud of you. You are killing it. Like, how does that feel? I know it's one thing to get the Amazon reviews, but to see people saying, you know what, you're killing it, can't wait to read the book. What does it feel like?
Amazing. And that's all I'm going to say, because if I say any more, you're going to make me cry on here, and I'm not going to do it. So it's been an amazing, amazing journey. I could not have asked for a more positive experience, especially for my debut novel. So
what's next for Mbinguni?
Well, I am researching for my second book. And as my alter ego, or my real self, Celestial, I am working on quite a few other projects. So I'm busy, but writing still will remain at the forefront, and I will continue to write under my name, Mbinguni.
So now that you have a structure in place, is it going to be 14 years before we get the next?
No, it will not be. It will not be. Hopefully this one will only take maybe another year or two, but we'll see.
Awesome. Did you find in your process, did you find that like you have a writing room, or you have a special place where you could get more words written out? What's the mood setter?
It's not the place for me, but I do have a process before I begin writing. So I have to meditate and try to kind of clear my mind. And then, like I said, I pray and ask for the words to flow and to be used as a vessel, because the gift is not mine. It was given to me, and I have to use it as I'm supposed to. And so in order to do that, I kind of have to open myself up to be able to hear. There are things that I wrote in the book or that I've read after the book came out. I'll go, I don't even remember writing that, wow. Or things that connected in the book that I didn't purposely connect. So that's one of the reasons I know, like, I'm in the vein of where I'm supposed to be in allowing myself to be used as that vessel. So whatever people are supposed to get out of the book when they read it, that's not up to me. All I had to do was write the words. So.
I think storytelling is an art that will forever be needed. And we are not only proud of you, as so many of the comments are, but we are grateful that you were obedient to share the gift. You're in front of the room, 5,000 women. What do you want them to know about Mbinguni?
About Mbinguni? I hope that everything that I put forth as Mbinguni is edifying to people, whether it makes you laugh, whether it makes you cry. I just try to be true to the love and the things that have been poured into me and shown to me as I've grown up and become a woman. And I hope that I'm sharing those experiences in a way that is honest and tender and full of love for, my fellow people, because I love Black women. I love Black people, brown people. I think we're just amazing. And I wanted to reflect that in the stories that I write.
Is Mouse going to be okay?
She's going to be great. She's going to be great.
She's going to be great. Okay. So my next question, if Mouse is going to be, is Miss Suki going to keep getting that money?
I don't know. You might have to stick around and keep checking my page and stuff to find out about Miss Suki.
Oh man, I'm rooting for her because she's in charge of the girls. The girls have to be protected. Last question. The title to the book, how did that come about?
Well, it's kind of a double entendre. So, of course, Mouse is looking for hope because she has experienced this tragic event. But that's also the name of one of the characters, and I won't give away right now who that character is. So you have to read the book to find that out. But yeah, so it works. It was kind of a play on words.
Absolutely. And where can everybody buy the book?
They can buy it on Amazon, or if you go to my website, which is www.binguni.life, there's a link that allows you to click it, and it'll take you right to the Amazon site for the book.
Absolutely. Well, ladies and gentlemen, listen, you have been rocking with the absolute best, the great one, Mbinguni of Mbinguni Life, and myself, Chuck Hawkins. As you can tell, this book is going to be a game changer, guys. Bestseller, and most importantly, it's going to, I believe, help relationships thrive in a mature, open manner. It's going to help people be retrospective in terms of when they're looking for their own version of hope. So order your copy, Looking for Hope, right now. Jump on over to Amazon and give her yet another 5-star review. Mbinguni, thank you for joining Black Writers Weekend.
Thank you for having me. This was amazing.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, guys.